Collins crew, stroked by Stephen Warming. Crew's just not quite ready. The Huskies, your alma mater, Megan, over there. This fantastic crew that Mike Callahan's put together, stroked by Maxwell Hyde, coxed by Nikita Jacobs. Then we go to Syracuse, Big Orange, stroked by Declan Fry. Drexel, Josh Diggins in the stroke seat, Chloe Minucci in the cox's seat. And right over on the far side, we have Jacksonville, the Dolphins, stroked by Archie Lockett and coxed by Hannah Rattigan. And we are moments from the off. The guys are sat forward, ready. So Washington's going to win this race, yeah?
I think we should definitely expect to make them favorites for this race, but of course we're always going to be keeping our eyes open for the potential for an upset. Again, because of the importance and the weight and the gravitas of these opening heats, people are really going to go for it. There's no reason to hold anything back on day one this year at the IRA, so no reason to go out and go after the #1 seed no matter what your number is or what your ranking is today.
Yeah, I saw the Washington 8. I mean, we saw them out paddling yesterday. They looked really sharp around the front end. Just an easy paddle, but really impressive. They've got guys from the USA, Britain, John Wang Nordren from Norway, he's in the 6th seat. Giuseppe Bellomo from Italy, he's in the 5th seat. Then a couple more Brits, Sam Ford and Cameron Tasker. And then a New Zealander, Harry Fitzpatrick from Auckland. And Maris Bjorn Harland from Oslo, Norwegian, up in the bows. And then we've got a British cox, Nikita Jacobs from Radley School, and we are off. So multinational crew as usual from the Huskies. Here we go, clean start, Megan.
Yeah, it looks really good. Look at that, nice and even in this first heat, just taking it off the line. All 6 crews going right together. Like I said, no reason to hold anything back here. All these other crews are going to be having their eyes set on Washington and just ready to chase them as far as they can down the course.
Dartmouth just one in from the right of the screen. They leapt out and they led the Huskies, but I think the Huskies, you can see with that purple deck in the front of their boat, you couldn't miss that. They are leaping out into a lead over Dartmouth, who are in a good 2nd place, and they are really out to be in the top 3 here.
Yeah, and it's almost nothing to choose, I would say, between Dartmouth and Syracuse, who are flanking the Huskies there.
So it seems that we've got, early in the race, we've got Syracuse, and then we've got Washington in the centre, then we've got Dartmouth, and the other crews just dropping off a little bit. And I just wonder about whether, you know, the other crews in this race have now just lost it because they haven't blasted off the start.
It is going to be a tough thing over the rest of this 2K in order to reel these guys back in, but it does look like Dartmouth, Syracuse, and Washington are starting to really separate themselves and make a statement about who's going to be advancing from this heat.
Yeah, so looking at the Dartmouth crew, nice and direct on the front end, just getting that pinch on the boat. And let's have a look and go over to Fred and see what he makes of it.
All right, this is reporting boat now. In the middle of the second 500, it's a good race between Dartmouth and Washington. Syracuse about 3/4 of a length behind Dartmouth. Then it's over on the far side of Syracuse is Drexel and Jacksonville. And Georgetown in lane just slightly ahead of Jacksonville. But out front, it's the Huskies from Seattle starting to press a little bit. Keep an eye on the crew. About a half a length now for the Huskies. The Big Green doing a really nice job here. Just trying to find their jet stream, as it were, and Syracuse tagging right along. Syracuse and Dartmouth having a good rivalry this season. And Dartmouth making big strides up in Hanover, trying to fine-tune their lineup and find the most speed. All the coaches do after the sprint. So Syracuse is starting to come up now and maybe has a seat over Dartmouth, and then it's open water back to the trailing crews. That would be Jacksonville, Drexel, and Georgetown. Huskies now full length on the field. And they're rolling along at their bread and butter pace, 38. Looks like pretty good ratio for 38. Slow down a bit. Dartmouth and Syracuse still tooth and nail. And those three crews will qualify then for the semis tomorrow. And we get ready to toss it over to the tower with the Huskies leading comfortably over to the tower.
Yeah, that's a beautiful rhythm out front that Max Hyde and Archie Drummonds, the American from Seattle in the stroke seat, and the Brit from London, England, are setting. It looks really smooth out there, doesn't it?
Well, I'm always going to be a little bit sweet on this Husky boat, but they are really doing a nice job just taking control of this race. Probably a little bit more overlap than they'd like to have with Syracuse at this point, but looking like mostly job done at this point. About 500 meters to go. Anything can happen, of course, in the last minute or so of racing, but it does look like they have a pretty handy lead for themselves here.
Yeah, I guess Coach Reichman's going to be really pleased if Syracuse can just get that margin over Dartmouth. We've got a really close race for that third position there. How important is it for those two crews, Syracuse and Dartmouth, to get into that third place slot, Megan?
Well, the last time these guys saw each other would have been at Eastern Sprints just a couple weeks ago, and it was Syracuse that was going to get the better of Dartmouth there, advancing to the grand final, whereas Dartmouth ended up in the petite. So I think Dartmouth is doing a great job here just to see if they can claw back some of that margin and maybe see if they can upset that result from a couple weeks ago. But yeah, it's always going to be about the best place that you can get in these heats in order to get that best possible lane for the semis.
Yeah, and a word for Drexel, Jacksonville and Georgetown. I guess they're going to see races, you know, in the semis contesting places 13 and below.
It seems like that's the way it's going to go for those guys today because it is a big margin at this point. The camera director isn't even going to show us those guys at this stage in the race. It is all about these three crews, Washington, Syracuse, and Dartmouth going your 1, 2, 3 here for the first advancement from the men's Varsity 8.
So as they come up to the finish, we can see the Huskies from Washington untroubled, really. We haven't had the sprint out the back pocket. Syracuse are just going to head Dartmouth at the finish. They are the crews that will progress through to the AB semi-finals. This wasn't a close race for that third place. I think that's Drexel, correct me if I'm wrong, coming in now in fourth place.
That's right.
And over on the far side, Georgetown in the blue boat. And we await Jacksonville in green that are coming up to the finish as I speak. They're not in shot yet, but you'll see them very soon. Going to be interesting to look at times, but I don't think we saw everything that Washington had to give in that race.
I'd say probably not. I think they were ready for a close race between the number 2 and number 3 crews behind them, and I was really pleased to see that margin between Dartmouth and Syracuse. They really kept it fiery for us for that whole 2K.
So confirmation of the results, 5:36 for Washington. The record as for the IRAs is 5:21, but we're not going to see those kind of times here. The tailwind's not strong enough. Syracuse 5:38, Dartmouth kind of less than a second behind them, and then Drexel in fourth. So what do you reckon to that time? 5:36 on these conditions?